Today I'm going to be going over dividing rational expressions, which is actually very similar to multiplying rational expressions. We just have to add on a few more steps. So step 1 is to keep the first fraction. We're not going to change that. Then step 2 is to change the division to multiplication. And step 3 is to flip the numerator, or the top of the fraction, and the denominator, the bottom of the fraction. And we're only doing that to the second fraction. Step 4 is to multiply straight across, because now we have a multiplication problem. Factor if necessary. And then we are going to simplify. So let's start putting this to action and try number 1. So the first step is to keep the first fraction, so I'm going to rewrite it, keeping the first fraction the same. Step 2 is to change the division into multiplication. And step 3 is to flip the second fraction, so it's going to be y to the 4th over x squared. Now we have a multiplication problem, so we're going to multiply straight across. So I have x squared, y cubed times y to the 4th is going to be y to the 7th, over x cubed times x squared is going to be x to the 5th power, y squared. Now I'm going to start simplifying. So I can't factor, but I can simplify it. So I can eliminate the 2 x's on top with 2 on the bottom. So now I'm going to have x cubed on the bottom, 2 y's on the bottom with 2 y's on top. So now I'm going to have y to the 5th on top. And that's going to be my final answer for number 1. Trying number 2, the first step is to rewrite the first fraction. The second step is to change that division into multiplication. The third step is to change the fraction, so I'm changing the numerator and denominator. Next, I'm going to multiply straight across. That is step 4. So I have 12 times x squared minus 1 over 6 times x minus 1. Next, I want to factor. So I'm going to bring my problem onto the next page and factor it. The only thing that I can factor is x squared minus 1. I can factor with dots because they are both perfect squares and subtraction. So I'm going to have x plus 1, x minus 1, and I'm going to replace that x squared minus 1. So 12 remains the same. I'm replacing what I factored. And 6 times x minus 1 also remains the same. Now I can eliminate. So I have x minus 1 on top and the bottom. If I divide out 6 on the top and the bottom, 6 divided by 6 is 1, and 12 divided by 6 is 2. So now if I want to clean this up, I'm going to have 2 times x plus 1 over 1, or you can just write this as 2 times x plus 1. Here we are with number 3. The first step is to rewrite the first fraction just as we see it. The second step is to change that division into multiplication. And the third step is to flip the second fraction. Now I'm going to multiply straight across. Remember, I'm not distributing, I'm just showing them in one fraction. The next step is to factor what I can. So I can factor out 3a minus 9. I can factor through GCF a 3. So I will have a minus 3. And that's the only thing that I can factor out. So now I'm going to replace 3 a minus 9 with 3 times a minus 3. Now that it's completely factored, I can start eliminating things. I have a minus 3 down here, and a minus 3 up here, so those cancel out. Let's clean this up now. So I have 12 times 3, which is going to give me 36a to the 4th, and 2a on the bottom. I can simplify 36 over 2 to get 18, and a to the 4th divided by a is a cubed, giving me my final answer of 18a cubed. Number 4 is a little more challenging just because of the way that it's set up. So even though it looks like one big fraction with multiple fractions, I'm going to rewrite this in a form that we are used to seeing. So I'm going to write 2x squared minus 4x over x cubed divided by 2x over x to the 4th. So I just wrote it on this page so I have more room. Next, I'm going to do the first step, which is to keep the first fraction the same. Change the division to multiplication, and flip the fraction. Now I'm going to act like it's a multiplication problem. Multiply straight across. So I have x to the 4th times 2x squared minus 4x. Do not distribute that, just leave it like that. And x cubed times 2x. You can actually do the math here so that you have 2x raised to the 4th power. The next step is to factor. So I can factor 2x squared minus 4x. Through GCF, I can take out a 2x. So I'm left with x minus 2. And I'm going to replace that. So now I have x to the 4th, 2x, x minus 2, all over 2x to the 4th. So looking at what cancels out, the x to the 4th on the top and the bottom cancel out, and the 2 cancels out. So my final answer is x times x minus 2. At this point, I would like you to try questions 5 and 6 on your own and submit them through Edmodo.